PR Connections Radio presents
Voices of Humanity. We need to hear your voices. We need to hear your voices. I love that little opening, don't you? I love it. It makes you just want me. I want to dance in, you know. Anyway, Sandra McKechnie here. It's been a minute. Welcome to Voices of Humanity at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. We were supposed to be here last week with my special guest, but I had this sinus thing, you know, this thing that's going around, and then it turned, it was like a little yucky cold, and then it turned into the sinus thing. But I'm good to go. And I hope if you are just dropping by or on the website, prconnectionsradio.com, that you will check us out, Voices of Humanity, and you can watch our videos right then and there. That would be really great. So I do something called double consciousness, 2 streams of thought, 2 social identities, and it has everything to do with the people that were in apartheid, colonization, that came across the transatlantic slave trade, imperialism, etc., and how they show up. Well, why they show up, how they show up in the 21st century with 2 streams of thought, 2 social identities. Double consciousness is a concept put forward by W.E. Du Bois. It has a lot to do with everything. when you look at it, gives us a chance, people like me, my nation of people, so diverse. Black people, byword, we're kind of brown, you know. Some of us can get a little closer to really the mahogany in those beautiful tones too. But it has everything to do with how we've been assimilated and why we show up how we do today. Very different than people that are still on the continent, areas like Ghana, Nigeria, you know, very different, have their names, their culture, but they have some other stuff going on too because of colonization. But we're grateful, so grateful to be able to look at it. It actually changes your life. It changed your life. You actually become aware of your unawareness around it. And that's what double consciousness is really all about. Those that came across the trade. I'm from Barbados, and really I'm not, because that's just like a holding point for slaves, right? That's what it was. So I'm not really Bayesian, but I am. This is what it is. And we're going to talk a lot about a few things that may connect with that for you. And I hope that you stay with us, listen to the show, watch some of the videos. We'd really like, share, comment. We would really appreciate it. Subscribe. Thank you so much. Those of you that have been faithful and continue to do so, wonderful show. Again, welcome to Voices of Humanity. This is going to be a wonderful show. I have a very special guest, and her name is, I'm going to just read this off for you, Marlene Henry Smith. Marlene is the personification of compassion, inclusion, dignity, and responsibility, and the founder of Helping Hands International, a nonprofit organization that supports the inclusive approach to community advocacy and capacity building through awareness, education, and counseling. As a social service worker with a bachelor's degree and a master's in theological studies. She sits on the board of various organizations in support of the marginalized. Marlene is also a 2-time best-selling author, Broken Trust, Empowering Stories of Healing for Relationships, Finances and Wellness, and Pursued by Purpose. Marlene is a migrant from Jamaica who is currently living in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Marlene Mae Henry, come on down.
Hello.
Hello, hi. I'm seeing too much chin. Are you low down? Where's your camera? Oh yeah, just put the camera a little bit. Oh, look at that pretty top. Now we talk.
There you go.
Like it. How are you, hon? We just chatted yesterday.
When you were talking about me, I said, "Is that me? Is she talking about me?"
I know, right? It's true. That happens to everybody when people are reading the little.
And I don't like that. I'm scared of that. When people start talking about what I do, I get trepidatious. Seriously.
Well, now they're expecting you to put out.
Yeah.
Well, we are here, and we're going to hopefully do 2 shows, because I really think we're going to need 2 shows. Well, I always look at the time and think, what time is it now? Oh, it's already 5:05. Okay. So I did the intro. Marlene's on, and we have something very special. I'm just going to read this. Something special for you today. And I'm just going to read what was put out there for the show. What's in a name? It's just a name. Jesse Washington, 1916. Mary Turner, 1918. Emmett Till, 1955. George Stinney, 1944. George Floyd, 2020. And many, many, many more. Join us. I am so proud of my very special guest who's right here. She's the personification. We heard about her personification already. The title is Lest We Forget. What horrors happened back then? What happened just a few years ago? How does it affect us now? And Marlene, we met and we were talking about this. And even though Black History Month is gone, we don't need just a month, right? We need, I think, still to be talking about this consistently. Not at nauseum, and also not just to have a forum, you know what I mean? Just for the sake of people venting, but going somewhere with it. I say that because of the learnings that Marlene was a part of, double consciousness. It was an opportunity not just to look at stuff, because we weren't given it in school. So how many of us after, we got married, having kids, who had time to be looking up double consciousness and looking up W. Du Bois's concept and all of this, and looking at what Malcolm X, aka Malcolm Little, aka Malcolm X, what he was really saying, right? And James Ball, all of these beautiful, amazing people that speak, weren't just amazing orators, but they were talking our history.
You know what you were saying? Who had time to research about these ancestors or those that went through this or experiences? But I would say, who had time to reflect? That's the word.
For sure.
And for me, it was the George Floyd did it for me. Not that I didn't know about Black history or history in some way, but it didn't have that spirit about it that connected to certain oppression. When I saw what I saw, and when I heard what I heard when George Floyd at his demise, that woke me up. I'm awoke and I can't go back to sleep.
Tell me now, before we're going right in it, but why do we want to remember this stuff at nauseam? Can't we just go on? Why do we need to remember this? Nobody wants to hear about no Black History Month. What happened to George Floyd, George Stinney, to Trenton 6, Groveland 4? Who wants to hear about it?
But here's the thing. Why not? Why don't we want to hear it? Not why should we want? Why don't we want to hear? Is it because, in my opinion, we were programmed not to want to hear it? Because I sit with this concept about don't air your dirty linen in public. You ever heard that one?
Yes, of course.
We were brought up that way. Yes. So the very fact that when something happened to us individually, when we talk about a concept I learned about ACE, adverse childhood experience, and here's this: those of us that would have witnessed violence in the home, or seen somebody die, or experience suicide.
Okay, start that over because I missed it.
ACE, adverse childhood experience. It's called ACE, and it's those of us who have experienced violence or witnessed violence in the home or in our community, or seen someone die by suicide, or for example, gun violence. We normalize it, right? Or we tend to normalize it, or just keep it moving,
right?
Keep it moving. So we're desensitized. So if we have adopted this personification or this way of life, that things are happening around us and we're almost sedated or subdued about thinking about it, then people will say, why bring up slavery? What does that mean? Because we're actually living in this perpetuation of the violence against us or in our communities, but because we've normalized these behaviors or these experiences, we disconnect from our history. that this is a perpetuation. We're not seeing or experiencing the plantation, but we're living in those colonized little communities where we're oppressed and we're not even aware. So it's the awareness that I think
Yes.
we're afraid of.
Like there's those states of awareness. You just touched it. Unconscious unawareness is one of them. That's the beginning where you've got your thumbs in your ears and your fingers over your eyes. Oh, no, I'm just going to get ahead. I'm just going to move
Your
forward.
eyes wide shut.
Right? Bootstraps, pull them up. So that definitely. So you feel that we should not forget. Elaborate a little more.
We cannot. If we forget, if we are the person that it has been perpetuated on, and we are the victims and we forget, the society doesn't have an obligation to remember that. And when I heard you say that you're from Barbados and Barbados just as a holding colony, that is true. And people, if you say that, people maybe be offended or put off. Why you say that? But when I think about Jamaica, for me, I went to a conference in Jamaica in 2017, and it was at Church Teachers College, and this professor was talking to us about who is a Jamaican, what is a Jamaican, and he says Jamaica is a colony, and it was an experimental colony that brought together a lot of ethnicity. We're a melting pot. That's why our motto is out of many one people. So you have different ethnicity, and they say them Jamaican. That's why, and when you talk about double consciousness now, and I think here's how we handle it. 2 stream of thoughts, 2 social identity. For me, I have to be, if I go into a sanitized spaces where there's no persons of my color, I'm the minority. I'm expected to enunciate my words and behave in a manner that is fitting. Cross all the I's, dot all the T's. Yeah. And then when I get to my yard, I say, well, yeah, I say, man, you're Irie. What I want. That is my, yeah. So, and it's a process, and it is what we have to accept.
It is.
You can't get out of that. For me, it's consciousness.
It's funny.
I'm Black. I'm a woman. I'm a professional. So I have to navigate these spaces. And it can be really tiring, Yeah.
A friend of mine said the same thing. She's a therapist. She said, why do we always have to leave parts of ourselves at the door? Because you have to it happens quickly. It's amazing. I love the sister girl talk because you get in the room and it's almost like, where do I leave? Okay, I leave mommy and daddy. You stay here. This is time for me.
Put on your best, be at your best. Right? And your mom always say, you go out in public, you better be at your best behavior. Right?
Could you imagine? There's some spaces we almost felt embarrassed, right? If I walk in there with my mother in some place and she start, oh, Sandra, ma, what happening? She meeting people with, you'd be like, I don't, what? I don't understand.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. What did you say? Then when you come out to say, you did hear what I said?
That's right. And I do it all the time.
I couldn't pop a joke. This is what we live with, and we have to celebrate it.
Yeah.
There's no apology.
Code switching, right? So
yes,
right, and we used to be embarrassed about, but the reality is 2 streams of thought.
Yes, always, always, or 3, depending on the environment. Yes, yes. Let us just say it is a reality, and it's a continuum. It's not it's fluid. It's on and on. And here's I say, when do we get to of our mental wellness or our upkeep? When do we pause? Yeah. And here's the thing we need to do. And I say to people, sometimes you have to step back because you need to rejuvenate, because it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie coming out, One Love, man, that was so good for me. I went there and when I saw the movie, seriously, it brings back memories because I was brought up in that time. Right. And some of the things that was shown, I can relate. I lived in that area.
Yeah.
Trenchtown.
So it's not like it is huge, because I love me some ackee and thaw fish. Okay. Yes, ma'am. So like there's things that came out of the holding colonies that are amazing. We made lemonade out of lemons, and so we did some unique things, created stuff,
We created our own menu. We created our own cuisine, and it's, we call it ghetto fabulous. Like,
okay, not to mention some of the inventions. So when I think about when we people wanting to forget, well, I certainly couldn't forget that I was brought from Barbados. We wanted to. And I said to somebody on the show, well, I said this a few times, that one of the worst things you could say to us when we were in school was go back to Africa. That was like, oh, you didn't say it, you know? How could you say something so horrible? It was like you were using a dirty word.
Yes.
And it's so sad. Like, have you ever experienced that?
Oh my goodness. Where I come from, I was told, go back to your country, you nigger. Yeah. And I especially at the time when with George Floyd, everybody was online. I was almost scared to go for a walk because the racial tension was so huge. It was so high.
For sure.
And I have to admit, I was fearful at one time. But then I said, you know what? I'm going to overcome my fear. And actually, with the George Floyd experience, it brought me into this tension between consolation and desolation.
I love that. You said that to me before. What's that about?
Consolation is the act of the process of affirming myself of who I am as a human being, a human and being and a being. Yeah, that's has worth, has value. And having that talk with myself, I had to talk myself. I really had to self-talk.
Absolutely.
And then the desolative part is having to deal with the covert racism, the handling of me as a being, where I have to outperform to be validated by those that I serve. I mean, being a woman, being Black and being a professional, I have to perform over the norm to be accepted.
So when you're talking about this right here, how does that connect to not forgetting? Because when I think it would almost be an offense to those shoulders that we're standing on, you know, if we did forget. You know,
the responsibility on us is not to forget, because we have made a dent in the needless. It has shaken, and it has taken so long to even admit that we're supposed to be not on the menu but at the table.
And I didn't have to sit at the back of no bus to prove nothing.
And no more bus.
I didn't have to sit at the back of the bus and my life was at stake. And if you read that story, that was a scary story.
Yes.
So now I didn't have to sit in the back of the bus. I didn't have to be the first woman trying to get buying my ticket at the theater and having it to be thrown out because I tried to sit in the seat I paid for. So I think about these things that today, oh my gosh, I was thinking, how would I handle that? It's a terrifying thing to break ground the way our people did. Terrifying.
But then what are we contributing to the table right now? Yeah. What is our responsibility, seeing that we've come such a long way, so as not to forget?
Absolutely.
That we are. I think one of the most important thing is to continue the education and continue the dialogue, continue to raise the awareness.
Okay.
One of the things to say, did you know this? Because some of our kids don't know the history. They don't understand, this generation, some of us in this generation are unaware of the sacrifices or the enormity of their sacrifices. So I would believe, my position is this: in order so that we don't forget.
Yes.
Here is one tool we could use. Continue to raise the awareness. Says, did you know that? This is it. This happened. Have you read about this person? And we have our everyday heroes right now. Who is going to write a story on George Floyd? Think about that. That is a contribution to enable us not to forget. Because I don't know if you understand, since that happened with George Floyd, things have blown out, exposed, where it went globally, right? So how can we harness that experience so that we can keep building as a building block?
Yeah, absolutely. And even before that, of course, Black Panthers, of course, Malcolm X, James Baldwin, Dr. Martin Luther King. These are heavy hitters that everybody, these monuments they're used for Black History Months, but it's much more than that, right?
Yes. It's even from a Canadian perspective.
Yeah.
even the localized person, the local person that has put in their 2 cents, has made the impact. We ought to remember them. We owe them that respect, and the only way we can do it is to continue to educate our young people, to bring those in the conversation, and to be proud to do that, not to minimize our Blackness, not to minimize who we are and where we have come from, and our history, and we continue to make history, and even going back before slavery, that we were great people.
Absolutely.
Before bringing those things to the forefront.
Not forgetting also means, like, for our young people, you say, why do I have to look at that? Now, yeah, we could say because you want to educate yourself about your people. You want to educate yourself about your people. Absolutely. But the other thing is to actually embrace the person that you are now, that came through the time warp with all of the collateral damage, and how that it's okay. Saying somebody's code switching and saying, you're being fake. Well, let's have a look at that. I'm navigating how I was assimilated to think by slave massa: act like me, talk like me, walk like me, take the whip and kill and beat your own people like me. But at the end of the day, you're refuse. You're nothing. So that comes through, and that gives us crabs in the barrel. So, you know what I mean? It comes through that I've got to get up to the big house, right? I've got to align myself on some level, and I'm minimizing it, but yet I'm not. Align myself on some level with my captors, kind of a thing, a mentality, right? So now, looking at you, and you're saying, people go, I look at you, you're code switching, and well, hello, that's a real part of who you are.
Yes, I think it's a point where we have to embrace vulnerability and accept both the shame that it brings. Admit that there, because sometimes we tend to want to avoid. We want to have this perfect personification that everything is well, we are all put together, and almost we don't want to get into the re-traumatization of what happened to us, because we think, or maybe we assume it's going to minimize our value. But in order for us, I think, or believe, to really be real, be authentic, is when we can say, this happened to me, this happened to us, it's true. Sit with the trauma, go through it, embrace it, and come out of it.
Plus, the Black Panthers spoke. They were beautiful speakers, orators. James Baldwin, it's like music listening to him speak. And Malcolm X. So and these are, were men speaking, and you could hear it. But still, they knew who they were. So my thing is, yes, I might be at work talking to my boss. Okay, I'll finish that right away. Sure, no problem. Phone rings. My sister, girl, I'm coming up there just now. We are calling second time far. You know what I mean? But that is a part of me. And my boss may hear and go, oh, you have an accent. Yeah, whatever. Right?
That's you. That's you. And accept it. That's you.
That's it.
Don't try to be. I think I think we get dizzy, psychologically dizzy, trying to play that game, that working those two streams of thoughts and those social identities. But I think if we come to reconcile that, this is me. This is what came out of it. This is what I have to deal with.
It's true.
Don't be ashamed.
For sure. Because when we run from it, then we become something we don't like ourselves. We don't like us.
And we're always playing that game.
Yeah.
We are acting. We are acting it that we're not.
Yeah. And it came with us. It's like that Sigourney Weaver thing I talk about, Alien, right? It came through the time warp with us. So there's a book by Carol Anderson, amazing woman. It's called Where Did All the White Rage Go? Well, it didn't just disappear.
No, it did not.
Like I said in the trainings, up until the early late 20th century, a friend of mine went to buy a house not far from where I am, and she could hear the gentleman and the person that was doing the, what do you call it? Yeah, the real estate agent. Yes. And the person that was selling the house said, "I don't sell to niggers." I mean, and this is late 19 something. And so people may not think, and I know you resonate with that girl.
I'm telling you, 2 weeks ago, I was working at someplace and the person called me bling bling nigger.
Oh my.
And you know what I did?
Oh dear.
I immediately resigned on the spot.
Good for you.
That is me trying to say, I will not forget.
Yeah, know which battle that you need to fight, girl.
This is my way of giving my voice because I'm not going to take that.
Absolutely not.
So when you talk about why should we forget, why should we not forget?
Yeah.
We can consciously choose to keep it what was done to us alive by how we act and react to when we hear us being demeaned, when we're in spaces, and we can educate those that perpetuate those things on us. That's giving a voice. That's making it known that I am here. I heard what you say, and challenge it. That's our voice.
Some people are tired of educating people. What do you think about that?
Is education tiresome?
I know.
We pay to go to these institutions to get this, certification that we are this. The question is should education be tiresome? I mean, it can be tiresome when it challenges your norms, when it challenges your perception, when it causes you to onion peel and be vulnerable. But that tiresome shouldn't be. I don't think it should be seen as tiresome. It takes effort, and effort is energy. Yes. So yes, I would say it takes energy.
I'll tell you, after Marcy and I finished those double conscious sessions, we needed a time out. Yes. I remember, what's your name? From post-traumatic slave syndrome, Dr. Joy DeGroot. She said she needed a white out. She needed a white out.
So here's what we constantly are doing: learning, unlearning, and relearning. Constant. It is a constant thing. And I think, do you think Malcolm X, Martin Luther, all those, do you think that they were not constantly learning and unlearning and going, they haven't gone through what we're describing? It was psychologically draining.
Not only that, they went through hurt like us. Sometimes you're training people and you want to white out. You don't want to see no white people for today. Even my good friends. Like, I'd be like, give me a minute.
It's true. It's true. It's true. After you've heard somebody call you the nigger word and demean you, and you have to go into the white spaces again and pretend and act, and it's oh man.
It's so difficult. It really is. Don't even play with that, because it is difficult. And people, they could quote scriptures. You got to love that. We do, but you do feel the experience before you get to the love. That supernatural thing that you can't even face. Yes. You do. It's not something
you can pray it over and get over it and keep it moving. It calls for reflection and lamentation.
Yes. Oh,
your heart laments.
That's a beautiful word right there. Keeping it real.
Yes.
That's the truth in the inward part, what you just said there. Lamenting over certain situations.
And weeping. So yes.
I just remember supporting someone in a meeting in the area of social justice with some big thing. And this person, Anglo, was talking down to the sister really bad. And I thought, whoa, what is this? And I said, stop. Like, you're bordering on, what is that, harassment? What is that? Like, I couldn't believe it. It wounded me so much. I tell you, my armpits started to stink because I was traumatized.
You're sweating,
I was traumatized.
Hyperventilating there. Yeah.
It really did. And people don't realize this. I see people navigate spaces freely. But when I see someone like me being abused psychologically, because that's really what that was, it affected me in a way I could not believe it. I got to think, why am I sticking? It was because...
You know what? Every time I think about certain actions, I tear up. My heart is, my heart is broken, and it
Right.
continues to break. It's not because I'm weak, but I'm feeling it. And so
Absolutely.
this defeats the narrative that, we're tough, and we have a propensity to bear pain, and we
All of that
don't
nonsense.
cry.
Yeah.
And the things that we learn in double consciousness that was done to us, those castrations.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's a lie. And so when we pretend, or when we act the way we were told that we are, we're not living the truth. And so, even this workhorse syndrome, where, we were worked in the plantation until we dropped dead. We're still
Girl.
bearing that. Certain persons are working 3-4 jobs, and after they just
And the angry black woman
expire.
better not complain. Don't
You
complain,
better
angry
not
black
complain.
woman.
And we have to work twice as hard
Don't assert yourself.
twice as hard for less pay. How can we say we should forget?
Yeah. Yeah. There's
And
a lot I learned, though, from all those great ones. You
Yeah.
learn a lot from them, the tenacity, the fortitude. They get shut down, kill off, but that they got up. They knew that would have happened to them, but still they continued that fortitude.
They keep on the taking a licking, and they keep on ticking.
What do you mean, like Timexy? It's so true. It's so true. I love this not forgetting section, because it's not just forgetting to monumentalize these things, but it also is remembering so that our lives can be transformed.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
some of these people had a high calling on their lives. They were
Yes.
people of faith. They were strong Black people. So that gives me the same kind of attitude to ask, Father, give me the fortitude, please. That
The transference of that resilience and tenacity,
yes,
underpins by our faith in a stronger and higher being. That
yes.
How did we the question, how did we survive and still thriving and flourishing in the midst of our chaos and trauma? We found the way to survive and thrive and flourish. That's what we should be celebrating, and we should not forget. How did we get here? The shoulders of those that we have that help us to be where we're standing on. And so our responsibility, I believe our responsibility is to keep the fire burning by education, raising awareness, educating ourselves, educating our young people, our children, telling them, because from what I'm seeing, other cultures that have gone through horrific things, they will not forget.
Oh, they will not.
They refuse to forget.
Oh yeah, they reading stuff. They
Yes.
got a big old buffet out there. They're doing what they got to do to make sure those children, somebody say indoctrinated, which is that would be a good thing right there, because they're teaching those children, no, you don't forget this ever. In fact, you repeat it, keep repeating it.
Right.
So
we know that the mechanism of repetition,
Yeah.
what it does to you,
Mhm.
right? So it helps you to gauge and to project who you want to be or should be, and responsibility that is laid on you. And so we need to transfer those messages, so lest we forget.
Look how you said you went to see, my sister went to see too. Bob Marley, the movie. She loved it. We were like, they could have found a Jamaican to do that role, but she loved it. She loved it. And she didn't think she would. And now she's like, Sandra, you got to get to see it. It's really. And then when I think about how prophetic his songs were, how amazing that music was, I didn't know that. Why didn't I know that? There's a lot of things, because the construct that we're in, that caused us not to get the healing earlier, that we, because,
and that's what I was saying. I grew up with that music, and to me, that was just music. That wasn't meant to give it any serious thought, but now I'm realizing he was singing about the social injustice that was happening around us, but we were desensitized. Now that I'm looking back, and I tell you, I watched it and I cried, because some of the streets that the filming was going on, I lived on that street. And when I listened to this, even when they were singing, I was singing in the theater, and it was nostalgic. I could feel them I can't
My
explain
sister
how I
felt the
felt.
same way too. She
Boy,
was
and
what's going on.
when it ended, I couldn't move.
See, so what fascinating when certain things come to us now, especially after double consciousness, and you're always looking into stuff and studying. When we don't know, it's knowledge. It's the issue is knowledge. We will know the truth, and the truth
Yes.
what makes us free.
Yes.
So when we don't know, we walk around seriously like this, right? Unconscious unawareness, right? Becoming aware that you're unaware, I think is a wonderful step, and then you can go from there.
My two songs that came out of even before Bob Marley's music, the One Love music, since George Floyd, and even now, whenever there is a celebration of Black History Month, which it's a history, all your history. I had to do a presentation to a group, and I was telling them what music has done for me, made me realize with both the social and music in the sanitized space of religion. I made reference to Bob Marley's One Love, okay? And we sang it, One Love, Let's Feel All Right. And another song that he talked about, Buffalo Soldier, where the Black folks were asked to go to war in the US. And, another, and I think I mentioned another song. And I said, it made me realize what was happening then that I didn't realize then that I know now. And then, and whenever you want to know what's going on in society, listen to conscious music, conscious lyrics, okay?
True.
And as you see in the movie, it will show you what was happening politically there then, and what he was trying to. And he says his music is going to resonate globally the world, and it's true. It came to pass.
Yes, it's
So
true.
lest we forget, he made sure we did not forget. See, he planted a seed. Lest we forget, and no, we cannot forget because now we know.
Yes,
And then
definitely.
for the church or in religious, I remember this song, this young man, Reverend Paul Jones. I won't complain. You know that one?
Yeah, it's an old one, no?
I've had some good days, but I've had some hills to climb.
Sing it, girl.
I've had some weary days and some sleepless nights. But when I look around and I think things over,
Ooh, girl, come, put some pretty. It sounded good, man.
all of my good days outweigh my bad days. I won't complain. They sing that in gatherings. And the person's trying to tell you, I've had some rough days outside. I just barely made it here.
Yes.
Okay? And we celebrate them, and we boo-hoo, and we cry, and we pray, and we build them up again for the fight outside.
And they used to sing, they didn't just sing those songs, girl. They sing those songs.
They sang. No, they sang. They sang. And they sang it with spirit.
Yeah.
So when you hear Bob Marley singing, he sang it with spirit because he wants to convey the message that this is real. So you'll hear it in the spirit. You'll hear it in the ethos of the song. And it's living. It's alive. One song said, when this music hits you, you feel no pain.
Yes. So tell me, what else did double consciousness do for you? We were going to talk. Next show, we're going to do that because we're coming back on to do this show.
Well, double
what
consciousness,
else did it do for you?
It made me,
in terms of not forgetting.
It raised their awareness, and I talk about it all the time. With my cohorts of workers, I work with a company, an organization called Urban Res Solutions, and they run programs in the correctional institutions for male, female, and the juveniles, and they will tell you when we do what we call our energy reflections, or spiritual, or physical, our enthusiastic energy, and our positive energy. And whenever I have to do mine, I'll always say, I mention double consciousness, and I'll never forget what I learned.
Wow.
And that made me awoke. As I said, I didn't know in depth what the transatlantic slave trade did for us to us. But when you talk about those castrations and how I'm seeing, I said, oh, that's why this is. So now when I talk to folks, and then my husband will always say, okay, Marlene, you're going to put on your social service hat. I always look at the why this is so. And then I go back to what I was taught with the redlining, with all the school, with the school system, with how the advocacy had to be done so that Black kids to go into certain schools.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How, going to certain neighborhoods to live, how you had to pretend, or if you have to get somebody white to buy a house if they would chase you on. How psychological castration.
Yes, definitely.
Medical castration, all those things. And that caused me to reflect. When I go to see my doctor, I do my research before to say, this is what I think is wrong with me, and this is what I think you should think about to treat me. Not is for her to tell me, but we're having a dialogue here, not a monologue. You don't tell me, let's discuss it.
Very serious.
That is how it has empowered me personally.
Yeah.
And now I'm advocating, I'm telling folks, did you know this? Says, no, I didn't know that. Check it out. So I don't tell them the answer. I lead, I create that thirst or that interest. I say, go check this out. And the books that I was asked to read has profoundly impacted my world and my reality. And it made me it heightened my critical and analytical skills. So I always seek to find out the why is this happening? And for what purpose is this? And so it enables me to respond appropriately.
Were you a bit in awe?
I was more than
that that was opening up, that you thought you might have heard, but you didn't realize, oh my gosh, is that what that was? Or is that what that meant?
Now I know why. Now, oh my gosh. Now I understand why when you go to the doctor as a Black person, you say you have a headache or you have pain, that is so it's somehow minimized.
Oh, it's incredible. And that book, I think I mentioned that book on the trainings. Yes, I did. Medical Apartheid.
Yes.
The amount of dissecting and stuff that they did with our bodies, especially our men. My gosh. It's an amazing book. It's a scary book. And the other book that I'd love people to get is 100 Years of Lynching, which started after emancipation, so-called.
And then you'll understand why our men are sometimes afraid to go to the doctor.
Oh, it's a lot.
Wait until they're almost dying, expiring. Why?
And that happens to a lot of men. Yeah. But definitely our men are afraid. I would be too, right? And then when you think about,
when you read about this, you're scared.
The Tuskegee Project and all these people out there, the eugenists and stuff that wanted to do. They anesthetized slave women to cut them open to see where they could, what's his name? Miriam Sims. There was a monument put up to him in the States, making that that thing that they do our pap smear with. So vaginal speculum or whatever it was. It looked much different then, but they used Black women and they cut them without anything to figure out how that would fit.
So the question is, why should we forget?
No, why should we have mercy?
Why should we forget?
My sisters, that could have been my auntie, great somebody, So we can't afford to. No. And we were taught to because we
have to unlearn that.
Yeah.
That we have to garner our voices.
It's thinking that
make
we were
it
like
louder.
Everybody else.
Yes.
And we are not like everybody else. We were called for a purpose. We're not like anybody else because when we came to the time warp together, say we're back here, let's do it, 21st century, 20, 19, 18, 17, we're back here in the time warp. And then we're coming home. I'm Black, you are Anglo-Saxon there. And we're coming back with two different things to pass on to our children.
That's right.
2 different things. We have some cognitive dissonance and post-traumatic slave syndrome, all kinds of things. You're going to paint a beautiful picture unintentionally of what your great somebodies did until you come to a double consciousness forum, or you come to any of these wonderful forums out here.
I was also sharing with my group this morning on your experience with, you said you were having lunch and you heard the teacher behind you saying, this one is going to prison, this one won't last.
Yeah.
And right now we're dealing with that same thing where the youth are being desensitized in going to detention so often that they just morph right into prison. That mindset, yes, because it's normalized.
That's
it's
why when we have
normalized.
these conversations, it's amazing to remember. We must remember, because what Marlene's talking about. I went to have dinner across the street, a restaurant near me, and I was making a connection with this young woman. She's a teacher, and she was going further, and she was working at this restaurant for a bit, and we got a connection. So after a few times I was there, she said, it really, I told her about double consciousness. We talked. And then she said, it really bothers me. I'm a teacher. I'm at school. And a couple of the other teachers got together with me in the lunchroom. And she said, you know what they were saying? They were talking about some of the Black boys in the class. And they said, this one's going to get shot. This one's going to get arrested for drugs. This one. And they're like casting lots.
Prophesying. Yeah. Prophesying. Yes.
And I said to her, please don't teach, because you will do harm. Unless you come to a form, it doesn't have to be mine. Find something so you can get the right mindset about Indigenous people, us, especially because the so-called scientists, as you know, the pseudoscientists place us at the bottom of the rung, and we bought it. So it was the darker the skin, the more dehumanized. It was discredited, but it's still there.
Yes. It's still there. Yes.
You heard it. It went through. People believe it. You were taught it. Your ancestors were taught it. Where did all the white rage go?
Propaganda. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's amazing to me.
Cannot forget.
That wounded me, because I thought sometimes you don't think it's still here, but you've got young women. These kids are in their 20s. That one's going to get shot. I thought, Lord of mercy. You can't teach people this. You've got to want to look at it and change, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The self-fulfilling prophecy on them, and they ingest it, and years later they say, yes, I told you. That's where they would end up. Why? Because of how they were streamlined into the system, yes. What they were told.
That's true.
That's true. What they were told, how poverty has affected them with lack of resources, tools, all these things where we're seeing it. It's happening, and some of us have eyes wide shut as if it's not happening, and meanwhile we're losing our kids, we're losing them. And then somebody asks, why should we remember? We are living it. It's happening. It
is happening. That's to me, that's very amazing that it is.
It should make us lament. It should make us mourn. It should break our hearts, and it should challenge us. Every Black person, what is your responsibility being in this time? What do you bring to the table to change and affect your sphere of influence? That should be the seriousness of it. What are you doing? Are you conscious? Never mind. Don't want to remember the past. What is happening in your present sphere? What is happening around you? Aren't you not affected? Aren't you not touched? Aren't you not aware of what you're seeing? Take a look at the school system. For what?
Yeah. Absolutely. For a lot of mercy.
Take a look at the homes.
Girl, after they removed the Lord's Prayer, we went downhill. They just should bring back that little Lord's Prayer. Have mercy.
Do a reflection. Look around you. Look around you. And then if you think it's okay, take a look at other cultures and ethnicity, what they're doing. They're into, as I said, education, raising awareness, education.
Well, also, totally. But being in a place that authentically we weren't meant to be in, but we came here for a reason. Most High God allowed it. We came here for a reason, to learn something. When I was coaching a lady from Nigeria, and she felt like she was really having a little pain in herself, because she felt that she needed to assimilate more here. She didn't know how to do it. And we were talking about this, and I looked at her and I said, what are you talking about? I broke the rules. I was like, I'm trying to be you, and you trying to be me. You trying to assimilate? I said, no, girl, because her family was her friends. Her cousins are her friends, and that's how it be. They're community. And this girl's pushing to come this side. And I said, stop, in the name of love. Because that's not you. That's not you. You are from a community where, yes, your family, your cousins are your friends. That's who we were.
Community-oriented people. Yes. Accountable to our community. Yes.
And we picked up this odor of every man for himself. That was not us.
No.
I would come to your paling. Knock, knock. You got little bammy. I got 2 fish. Like, who's doing that? We're not there. And she wants to be like this. And I thought, no, that'll kill you. You need to go.
The commercialized, individualized approach will wear you out.
Absolutely. So and already she was feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to be like them, I guess, to get along. Hey, no, you don't. No, you need to be you.
Yes.
And yes, you got to assimilate a little bit. Some things, you got to get into and whatever. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do, but that don't mean you lose yourself and your community. This is
we're back to our identity.
Absolutely.
Preserving our identity is paramount to sustaining us.
And not forgetting. Right?
Sustaining our identity and not forgetting. Those two things, there has to be a marriage there.
People just didn't die and get hung and dismembered and all that for nothing. There's something that we need to learn.
They're calling us to accountability and responsibility.
Absolutely.
In our time, what are we doing?
And, yes.
That's a challenge.
Accountability. What the other word? Accountability and what?
Responsibility, accountability, man.
Yes. We are. We really are. I didn't have to go through.
And we must not drop the baton. And if we, a part of dropping the baton is forgetting.
Oh, girl, for real.
We will be, it will be to our demise.
Absolutely.
But we must also admit where we're at, what we have inside of us, and we have to manage it. Here's a final thought. Inside of us, as I would say, those that have come out from the post-Atlantic slave trade, because we're a mixture of all ethnicity.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes we have to admit this. Sometimes we feel like the oppressor, and sometimes we're the oppressee.
Very interesting. What that means?
Think about that.
Interesting.
We oppress each other because of what we've learned and the DNA that's in us. We cannot deny that, and that we need to manage.
Studied, and people know us, but I tell you, we sure studied them because we have.
They're part of us, and we're part of them. Yeah.
Definitely.
And so we have to manage those. There's a tension between. So we're consciously aware.
Holding the mix up in our family. And audience, if you're passing on this one, if you pass by and you're listening to this one, we got white up in our family. We're not talking against white, black. This is not a whole racial thing I'm talking here. This is just the reality of what it is. I got my grand nieces and nephews. They all light. Can't even see the black in them again. But it's what it is. It's just
my mother told me about the history with where we came from in Jamaica, that we came out of the white folks too.
Well, there you go. That's all. We got Indian, we got all kinds of things. So you got beautiful babies. You got to do what you can, but also that part of them that they may want to own, which be the black side. I always say, it's not my white side I'm worried about. It's my black side.
And you're honest enough to say, I have both sides. That's the double consciousness, the both sides that you have to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And find that balance. And finding the balance, I would say it's a process.
Oh, for sure.
Every day.
For sure.
Not one side overriding the other. And as I say, it's a constant, it's like you're riding a bicycle. You got to find that rhythm, the rhythm.
True. You got to find that. I hear what you're saying, but
and don't forget what brought you to this stage. Why I'm who I am. What happened?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What happened to it? What happened to it? How did we get here? Talk about it.
Yeah, I want to continue this conversation with you. And I would love to have your take. So you're going to work on this for homework.
Okay.
I'm interested. It's been happening for us from generations, from slave master was raping us and blah, blah. I'm curious at your take on interracial marriage. Don't give it away. You go and do what you got to do. But I'm interested. I always want to hear. I've heard a lot of things. See, these used to be conversations that Black people, we just get in a room and talk about amongst ourselves.
I would say one word about interracial marriages. The word courage. Courage. It takes courage.
No, we're coming out of the closet.
It takes courage. You gotta be courageous to take that one up.
Yes. You gotta be courageous, girl. People might shut down the show after. Sorry. But honestly, and I'm laughing too loud. I love getting together with you, Marlene. It's almost time.
Let's get together next and feel alright.
For truth. That was beautiful. I got to see that movie for real. It made an impact on people that didn't want to go. So I want to go. I want to see what's going on there. Yeah. Girl, it was good having you. Thank you. We're going to chat in the week because I want to talk about a couple of things we can unpack next week. That would be great. Lest we forget. And next week, I'm just going to get a little bit into the names of some of these people that we don't want to forget. Marlene, bring along a couple of your friends too. Yes. And we can talk. We can list them on, put them on the list. You can give them to me. Mm-hmm. We don't want to forget. There's many.
I'll bring some Canadian ones too.
Oh, please do. You bring the Canadian ones.
Yes, I'll bring the Canadian ones. Yes,
that would be great.
The group of persons that came to Montreal, the first.
So much happened here too. Yes,
they're from the Caribbean, and they went through a horrific experience within that institution. Yes, and the riot that it caused. Yep.
Yes. So next week we are.
Don't forget.
Don't forget. I'm so grateful. It's made me who I am, not forgetting that. Honestly, what happened? I didn't even have any kind of connection with it at all.
There's something on CBC radio, a series on the Canadian perspective of what happened with the slavery.
Okay,
it's a good one.
If there's a clip you want to send me, we can put it up for a minute.
We can put a little snippet. Yes.
Let's meet. We're going to make a date right away. So we'll do it on Sunday. Make a date for the week.
All right.
Because there's a couple of things. And I got to fill out that form. We're going to go on with this conversation. Thank you for dropping by. If you land on this on the repeat, thrilled. Wonderful. Marlene, clap her up, lift her up, big her up. I'm grateful for this conversation. I'm always grateful. We're just everyday people. Like I said before, we would have just done this in the back room someplace or at a restaurant. But it's been healing to quite a few people. And I hope that you are one of those people. And it'll give you the courage, the tenacity, and you will be relentless in continuing this fight with us. Bless you. It's not a fight. What else should we call it? Fight doesn't sound good. What should we call it?
Struggle.
Struggle.
In Jamaica, that says we don't have a problem, we have a situation.
That's
a situation.
Yes. I love it. All right. This was good. It was good for me. It was good for Marlene, I'm sure. Say bye-bye, Marlene. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Bye.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.